Percy is an engine of many traits. He's cheeky, he's playful, he's vengeful, and he's courageous. Nobody knows his roots exactly, and nobody really cares, for it is the spirit of Percy that matters. I've wanted to talk about Percy for a long time, as Percy is my favorite character, and I've crafted a headcanon for him, which we'll go into, 3, 2, 1 right now. All the characters have an interesting or funny reason for existing. Percy is the exception. The official description for Percy states that Percy is an engine of obscure antecedents. He was purchased second or third hand, and was thus believed to be built by Avonside, but was found to have components of Hunslet among others. This was a bit confusing to me. My headcanon for Percy is like the original, but it's more in-depth. When the NWR was being constructed, Sir Bertram Topham Hatt needed another tank engine. He contracted an unknown workshop to build one. It falls through as the Fat Controller obtains loaned engines, and Percy isn't necessary anymore. Meanwhile, Percy was loaned to many railways. This does in fact include the Great Western. Percy was troublesome though, and was returned many times. Then, the strike happened, and Bertram remembered, wait, I still have a tank engine, and so he paid. Again, Percy worked as the pilot until around 1955. Enter Sir Charles Topham Hatt. One of the first acts as controller for Sir Charles was fixing the congestion problem at Knapford, so he decided to reopen the abandoned harbor at Tidmouth on Thomas's Branch. But by 1955, the work at Knapford grew, and the work was too much for Percy. Sir Charles brought on Duck to work in Percy's place. Duck kept the yard in order, and was thus there for 12 years, until he went to run his own branch line. Oh yeah, Percy went to rebuild the harbor at Tidmouth with Thomas and Toby. He then stayed there to work at the quarry, where he met Mavis, and the rest is history. Before I built any version of Percy, I used the 2011 Tomy version of Percy. I mean, not bad. The face is a bit off and ugly. I hate it, but okay, let's talk a bit about regular Percy. My opinion, he's a bit too long. But I mean, I'm sure that's easily fixable. I mean, they probably made something that was a bit shorter than the standard four-wheel long chassis, but maybe something a bit longer than the standard four-wheel short chassis. Just something with overall better proportions, but I can't quite put my finger. Why didn't they ever fix this? So, like a good little Thomas Wooden Railway modeler, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I quickly scratch-built a Percy. The coats of paint I used were too thick. Also, way too tall. If you put it on a regular chassis, it's taller than everyone. Yes, everyone. So, I made another one. I was super happy with this one. This is the one you have all seen. I used this the longest. It wasn't stamped, it got its own video. So if you want a more in-depth video on that, go watch this video. I'll put the link in the description, if I remember, or care. It served, but blemishes started showing themselves later. So I made another one. Nope, this one had the same problems as the first one. I found a weird plastic Percy roller thing that I stole the face from to make this one. But it was a bit too small. It was way too small. So, guess I can't use it. All that wasted money too. Sure, it won't go to anything else. I used a 3D printer, PLA, instead of cardboard for this one, to make it smaller, but to still have detail. I also used a primer, this one, and used small thin coats. This was the same for the painting process. Thin coats of an olive green I mixed myself, black for the cab roof and smoke box. Then I printed out 2 number 6s, stuck them on, and he was done. One of the last things I had to do was get a face. Adventures Percy face? No, too big. Wait, what about that other face? Perfect! Perfect size. And that brings us to present day. I quite honestly think this needs to be redone at some point, as he's too short, and when I eventually build Bill and Ben, I don't want them to be taller than Percy. But for now, I think he looks great. There are people who have done short Percy better, and I actually took inspiration from them from the very beginning. Go support them, show them some love. The next character to be covered will probably be Thomas. He's probably not going to come for a while because he's unfinished. So unfinished to the fact that I'm literally working on him as of typing this script. But what would you like to see next? New essay video? How about another AU rambling vid? Tell me in the comments. Hit that like button, subscribe, and ring Toby's bell. He likes it very much. Okay, pause. Thanks for stopping by. See you next month. Thomas is a tank engine who lives at the big station on the island of Sodor. He has 6 small wheels, a short stumpy funnel, a short stumpy boiler, and a short stumpy dome. Thomas has always been a staple character of the franchise. Duh, but he really did shine in the first 7 seasons. His character journey from immature child to wiser young adult is something that is really overlooked in my opinion. The Railway series kind of ran out of things to do with him by the 16th book, but the TV series continued his arc into later seasons. Only for him to completely revert back to his older form in the CGI series, but whatever. If you were to ask me what my favorite character was, I'd say Percy, but it's actually Thomas. Thomas is a model which I've wanted to make for a long time, and his current form represents the complications I had while making him. This Thomas has an even longer story than Percy's, so strap in, and I'll tell you all about it. Thomas started out his life as a short E2, built as yet another revise to the original design. He had little relation to his siblings for the most part, but he was close with his builder. His shorter wheelbase gave him an advantage over the longer E2s, and his coal consumption was better for his work ethic. The inspectors, however, were unimpressed and saw little need to make more, so Southern Railway sold Thomas to Sir Topham Hatt for cheap. Thomas was the Fat Controller's first official engine, hence why he's numbered 1. He helped to build the railway until it was finished. He then piloted at Knapford and yada yada yada, you know the rest. Come on, it's Thomas! My first attempt at a Thomas was way before my channel was created. My dad got me some paint markers because, let's face it, this child could not handle brush or spray paints. I didn't do that much. I just gave him half a brass dome, a copper cap, and some red trimming around his bunker. Pretty bad. This is how we stayed for a while. Then I started my YouTube channel a couple years later. I painted his running board black. Ew. So then I completely repainted and relined him. I mixed blue paint for him, which was way too light. And for the lining I used masking tape. No, I didn't mask off the boiler and then paint red on it. I put marker on the masking tape, cut it up, and used that as lining. No, Then I printed out number plates for this. I made his model in Tinkercad, and holy crap, this took a while. So many files, and this guy exists on my laptop, it's actually insane. Okay, so the person who printed Percy was just straight up unavailable, so I needed to find a new person. He was printed in late November, and everything else went by pretty smoothly. Then one of my friends drew this face, which coincidentally looked like this one from Thomas's Train. I just thought it was funny. Time for priming. I used black primer this time. This one. The priming and painting process was exactly the same as Percy. Small clean coats of apple barrel paint. His running board was painted using dollar store paint, and holy moly, this is a mistake I am not making again. The red didn't really show up properly, but I just kept him as that. So I made some decals for him and painted around him very carefully. Along with that small Percy I had last time, I also got a small Thomas, which I once again stole the face from to use for this one. I used matte Mod Podge on the face this time because, Percy, yeah. So, I did the rest of his body and he was done. I ran out of white paint for his running board, so I just kept it as black for a while. Then I, once again, got paint markers and, my boy looking fresh. Thomas is a model I'm very proud of. He doesn't look exactly how I envisioned him, but that's okay for the most part. The decals I think I could have done better, and the running board I'm especially not the keenest on keeping this way, but all's well that ends well. James is a mixed traffic engine. He can pull freight and passengers with ease. That of course doesn't mean he'll necessarily want to pull anything he's told to. He's often shown to shadow Gordon in the show, and he has a bit of a Napoleon complex. James is a character that's just a fun time in my opinion. He bounces off characters like Toby and Percy really well. He doesn't have the most thorough of arcs. In fact, many have said his is similar to Thomas's. But I don't think that detracts from his character. Though he is someone I don't think about too often, I guess. James isn't my favorite, but he's still special to me. And without further ado, here's how I built James, the red engine. So, I forgot to take pictures of his build process. Sorry, not sorry. So way back in my pre-channel days, I wanted to upgrade my Thomas Wooden Railway James, which was in a sorry state. And well, I think I did a pretty fine job at it. This was the first time I ever made a custom after all. Then I created my channel. He, like Thomas, got a black running board, which... ew. And then nothing else. James's model didn't really change as much as Thomas, and especially not Percy. James was made in Tinkercad a bit after Percy. I debated on giving him a bogey, but ultimately decided to go without it as I didn't want to overcomplicate things. Maybe later. I printed it, and nothing really went wrong with that, so now it's time for painting. Black primer, just like Thomas. I used apple barrel paint, and about 3 coats were enough. I got inspired by Zane's James to use white line instead of black or blue. I tried to use vinyl and it it was bad. I'm not showing pictures of it because I don't have them, but trust me, bro, it was bad. It was very bad. So I decided to just go with paint. I used to knock off Take Along James for the face, and I'm somewhat happy with this decision. Just kidding.
This is why you don't make a script before you actually finish the model.
So I could have used these faces, but the more I sat on it, the more I didn't want to. Faces are hard to get and cost money. And I don't have a job, so it just didn't seem feasible to do 3D faces anymore. So out of curiosity, I printed out some faces to test on James, and I was genuinely shocked at how much I liked them. They are a lot more expressive, a lot cheaper, and easier to make, so I decided to change all of them. I know a lot of people might not like this change, but I think it was ultimately the best decision. What? What's wrong? This script's a lot shorter than the others.
Oh, that's because you don't have as many models to go through. Or nay, you.
Oh, we're gonna fix that right now. Yo, need your help. Can you come here?
Can't. Getting clothes.
Alright, well, hurry up and get over here.
I can't find them.
What do you mean you can't find them?
I can't find them. There's only soup.
What do you mean there's only soup?
It means there's only soup.
Well, then get out of the soup aisle.
Alright, you don't have to shout at me.
There's more soup.
What do you mean there's more soup?
There's just more soup.
Go into the next aisle.
There's still soup.
Where are you right now?
I'm at soup.
What do you mean you're at soup?
I mean, I'm at soup.
What store are you at right now?
I'm at the soup store.
Why are you buying clothes at the soup store? Well, that clearly didn't work. Hey, Puff. I'm making a video about my James model, and it's a bit too short.
What do you want me to do about it?
Just talk about your top hat model, I guess.
Alright, I'll head over.
Nah, you don't need to.
Why?
Yeah, I kinda need this one done now, so...
Alright, let's just get this over with. So, for the hole, basically, I took a piece of cardboard, drew the shape of the hole on it that I wanted, the little bottom part, and cut it out. I set that down, and I took some thinner, more thicker kind of cardboard, stuck them together, and traced out the shape of the hole that I wanted, because Top Hat's front's a little more up than the others, at least in my opinion I think it is. And I cut that out, I glued it to the piece of the piece that I talked about earlier, the hole's bottom. And I did that twice for both sides, and I kept Thomas with me. I always measured with Thomas to make sure it was the right size, because I didn't want it to be too big, I didn't want it to be too small. If you follow along the tutorial that Lemmy does, I recommend having Thomas with you or any other wooden railway thing. That way you make sure it's the same height and general size. So once I got that done, I took the already it already looked like the hole. Good shape, but wasn't smooth, really rugged. So I just went over it over and over and over again with tape until it was just very solid. And I went over it again afterwards with another layer of tape so it was really smooth. And the deck, same thing as the bottom. I just traced out the bottom of the deck, cut it a little bit thinner, and stuck it right in the middle. And Thomas for scaling again, looked perfect. I was happy with it, moved on to the next step. The superstructure, I didn't take any photos. Another video on that here in a moment. But I basically traced out the shape that I wanted the superstructure to be, took a thin piece of cardboard, put it on the deck, traced it out again, and then cut that in kind of like a oval, but not quite an oval. I'll explain it better in the video, but here's what it looked like, and then you'll see the video of how hopefully I explain it a little better.
Now, as I probably stated in the video, I'm a Jew. I didn't really, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, I'll censor that. I didn't really take any photos of me making the hole, but pretty simple. Here, side. Not the whole, the superstructure. Thin cardboard all around. This is thin, this is all thin. And I basically just bent it around the top piece here, which, that line that you drew on the deck, which you can't see it anymore because of the paint, but there was a line outline I made for it. I just cut the shape out of that line on a piece of cardboard, and then wrapped this piece all around it, glued it together, and then there's clay in there that, it was really cheap clay, like really, really cheap clay. If you do this, get some better clay than I did, because, good heavens, that clay I used it's still like soft. It's a very soft, oh no, it's pretty hard, but not really hard. It's really gooey kind of clay. It does give it some extra weight and whatnot though. Basically, glued a bunch of stuff together on the deck. I think it's like 5 thin layers of cardboard, glued it to the deck, and then taped over it. And then I took this piece of cardboard, and here you see, I wrapped that around this, then I taped it together, stuck it inside, and then glued it to the top of this, and that basically allows it to sit on there nice and... It gets snug after a bit. Once you pull it off, for some reason, it doesn't sit there very tight, but that's basically that.
Well, unsurprisingly, I also forgot to take photos of me making the helm, so you guys are going back to future video puff. This might repeat a few times, get used to it.
Okay, well, the helm was pretty simple, or I guess you could call it the head as well. Fully removable. It basically takes the same process as the superstructure and the whole combined. It's like both of them combined. You just take like a piece of cardboard like that, cut it to the size you want. I measured it on top of that to make sure I got the size I needed, and for top hat it was a little bit different for what I did, because top hat's the only tug I really know that has this little ledge here instead of just being a like normal top part. So pretty easy thing, just piece of cardboard, bent around that, taped it all together with glue. The head is basically the exact same process as the superstructure. Completely filled with clay, that cheap clay obviously, it's such a pain. And I didn't talk about this on the helm, not the helm, the whole last time. I used toothpicks for this. It just sticks on, and it swivels like so. Very, very easy. Not the most complicated step or the most interesting step, but voila.
So the next step I did was making the funnel, the hat, and the mask. Now, before I did all that, I covered everything in a ton of masking tape, as you can clearly see, and it kind of smooths it out, so when you paint it, it looks a lot better. The funnel was just a thick piece of card that I rolled up, pretty simple, turned it into a tube, glued it on. Here's a photo of it next to the first ever wooden boat I ever made, which was, just made out of garbage, but, it looks alright. Painting process began, and I think, I don't remember the colors I used, but pretty much just yellow, black, and red is all you really need for top hat. I used masking tape to get the perfect doors, which they're not very perfect, and then all the portholes were three-handed. You can probably make them look a lot better, but I was lazy. Again, didn't take any photos while making the hat, so back to future puff yet again.
Okay, so I didn't, again, take photos while I was making his hat, so let me just decapitate this dude. So, I can't take his hat off. His hat is unremovable. I just glued it on. I wouldn't recommend doing that. I would make it separatable, but mine is not separatable, so it's just on there forever. What I did for the hat, which it's pretty easy, I just took tinfoil. Here's 10 cents' hat. He's not finished, but I have his hat done. You just kind of make tinfoil in the shape. The bottom piece, this round piece, cardboard. Always make this out of cardboard. It makes it so much easier than making the whole thing out of tinfoil. It's just basically tinfoil wrapped in masking tape, and then montaged over the top of it to make it more smooth, and then painted. That's pretty much it. And then Top Hat's hat was different than 10 cents because it was, it's obviously a top hat, but you can kind of tell it's just tinfoil poorly shaped into a hat and then taped over. But wearing paint always helped mine with that. And that's pretty much it for that.
And that's it. That's Top Hat. This video, not the greatest quality, but my computer has deleted this video like 4 different times off of my computer, so I had to remake it 4 different times, and I got kind of fed up with it, so we're gonna have to live with this. Oh, and the face was made by my friend Sudrian Manor. Go give him a follow. Really amazing face. He made the face for my Lord Stinker too, but he doesn't appear in this. And yeah. Thank you all for watching, and have a good rest of your day, week, or month.